Hey guys, I'm Isaac and welcome back to Isaac Reviews 2025. After keeping things pretty low-key last year with just one movie and a handful of shows, Marvel Studios is back in full force, especially with the next Avengers movie being only a year away. But for their penultimate film of Phase 5, we have Captain America: Brave New World. After Steve Rogers retired that mantle in Endgame, someone else had to continue his legacy. And one mediocre Disney Plus show later, that someone was Sam Wilson, formerly known as the Falcon. While it's certainly interesting to see a new character taking on such an iconic role, given the current state of the MCU and how underwhelming a lot of their projects in Phases 4 and 5 were, I didn't have the highest hopes for Brave New World. Especially once the reviews came out and people didn't seem to be liking it all that much. Regardless, I went out and saw it anyway, and I'll admit, it wasn't terrible, but I wouldn't exactly say it was great either. It sees Sam Wilson finding himself in the middle of an international incident after meeting with President Thaddeus Ross. He must soon discover the reason behind a nefarious global plot before the true mastermind has the entire world seeing red. I'll admit that Brave New World has the materials to be a solid thriller akin to the previous two Captain America films, especially with it having a more serious tone with less humor. There were also some interesting concepts presented here, especially with the villain Samuel Stearns. He may not be as deep or interesting as some other MCU villains, especially those with similar ideologically driven motivations, but Tim Blake Nelson's performance was good and he serves as a worthy opponent. The rest of the actors also did a good job, especially Anthony Mackie Cheesy and Harrison Ford, the latter being a surprisingly good replacement for William Hurt, who unfortunately passed away a few years prior. But that's just about where my major positives end, because this is still a modern MCU film, so obviously it's gonna have issues. And despite the good ideas, Brave New World did not do a good job putting them to use. There was way too much exposition dumping, and all the different storylines felt poorly stitched together, likely as a result of the numerous reshoots. I also wasn't that big a fan of how the conflict was resolved, especially with how sudden it felt. Additionally, a lot of the new characters felt like wasted potential, especially Giancarlo Esposito's character Seth Volker. It's a shame since he's a really good actor, but he wasn't given much to do in this movie and it felt like he was only there for the paycheck. Speaking of stuff that was underutilized, Red Hulk. He was one of the biggest selling points of the marketing, but he doesn't show up until the climax, and the fight between him and Sam felt pretty underwhelming. On that note, the visuals in Brave New World were very hit or miss. I'll give it that some of the fights were well choreographed and there's some nice cinematography, but there was some really obvious CGI and the direction wasn't all that good either. It sucks because I wanted to like this movie. As easy as it may be to shit on the modern MCU, they can still put out some good stuff from time to time. And while Captain America: Brave New World might not be as bad as some of the other projects from these last two phases, it's still very mid. The actors were certainly trying and a few of the action scenes were competent, but it severely underutilized its potential with a messy and disjointed script, lackluster character development, and weak direction. This definitely won't be winning anyone back to the MCU, I'll say that much, and I wouldn't put it against you if you decide to wait for this to come out on Disney Plus, especially with Marvel's next two films this year looking much better. But at the end of the day, it's your call to make. I'll just give it a 6 out of 10 and be thankful that it wasn't any worse. Next time, I'll be talking about The Gorge. As the latest Apple original film from a Marvel Studios alumni, it was well made and had some cool concepts, but I think it could have been better. Anyways, thanks for watching this episode of Isaac Reviews 2025. Subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you all later.